Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back. Now today I wanted to talk about pride. Why? Because I was talking about it over the last couple of weeks in regards to achievements that my girlfriend has made and got through, and in regards to a few other things as well, in regards to more general achievements of people and things. And so I wanted to kind of bring this up because, some people have too much pride, and that's one of the reasons why it's one of the deadly sins. It prevents people from being humble, from being able to take things on board from other people because they start seeing other people as lesser as a result of the amount of value that they attribute to themselves. And they can't apologize. They refuse to work well with others because they are too proud. They are too above and beyond other people. They're not going to apologize to someone even if they were wrong, um, when that other person is a lesser being. Yeah, it would damage their pride, and it would kind of make more of a hole in them that pride is filling. And so as a result, I wanted to talk about kind of three different things around pride. Firstly, where it's good and like how you can make sure that the pride that you have in yourself and your abilities and the things that you do is a good kind of pride. The kind that you need for good self-esteem, the kind that you need for kind of self-motivation and for the kind of making sure that your work is the best that it can be. But also, I wanted to talk about the negative sides of pride. One where people are taking too much pride in what they have done, what they've achieved, where they lose context, where they lose perspective, and then the other kind where it, as I said a moment ago, it kind of fills a hole in that person, and so they crave this reinforcement of that pride. They strive for things, but the way that they strive for things is always more for approval, so that their own pride is picked up and lifted by others, and others being proud of them rather than anything else. And that can be a bit more of a double-edged sword. But let's get into the good stuff first, and we'll work our way downhill. So with the good side of things, obviously being proud of your achievements, that's a good thing. It's a thing that's required for confidence. It's a thing that's required for resilience in the face of adversity, because you know that you have achieved before. You are proud of those things. You have this self-satisfaction, and so as a result, moving forward into the next challenge is less daunting. And as a result, the things around that though are a bit tricky to traverse at times, because should you be proud of yourself for doing something? Should you be particularly proud of doing something that's easy? Should you be particularly proud of doing something that you feel you did well on but didn't get results? And stuff like that. The And as a result, I would split this down into kind of a couple of different areas. So first off, I would say be proud of the effort that you put in, and you know how much effort you put in. If you genuinely sit down and you put 110% into it, then you are probably going to feel tired. You are probably going to feel worn out. You are probably going to feel like you've kind of been running through treacle. But you're going to actually see some more of what you wanted. It might not be everything, you might not achieve everything, but you know full well that you've put 110% into what you're doing. In which case, that's something to take pride in, to recognize, to lift up as a quality. The other thing to take into account is results, and now results have to be taken in context with what you've actually been doing, but also, taking pride in the achievements, taking pride in the results that you have attained. This is something that is substantial. This is where I will sometimes, through whatever means, have to discuss my my background with people, be it for a job thing or when it's giving examples of stuff. Then it's something to be proud of, because I have the evidence of doing it. I have the evidence of achieving it. I have the evidence of my capacity to do that. And so being proud of that skill, that ability, that development that I made, that's worthwhile. Again, it reinforces things, it backs me up, it allows me to support my next endeavours off the back of that building block. And this is where, again, kind of I going back to some of the stuff that I was saying around Hannah and her graduation, like, I can be incredibly proud of her for the effort that I saw her putting in, for the achievement of her goals, for doing all of those things, even if I disagree with everything with the system that she's done it through. Yeah, you can be incredibly against the military, but you can still be very proud of a family member or a friend who actually went into the military and got, worked their way up, worked really hard and got to where they were going. You can have pride in people's achievements without necessarily having it completely attached to the system or the process that they went through to get there. There's a substantial set of kind of boxes that are involved in this, that you need to chunk stuff down to really appreciate the positives that a person has gone through, be it yourself or someone else, and then actually also appreciating the process, whether you actually like it or not, or whatever, or how that person has worked with it. There are those little compartmentalizations that need to be made for a full appreciation of both the person and the endeavor. But as a result, that's the simple side of things. Taking pride in yourself and your achievements and all that kind of thing, being perceived as good because it supplies confidence and helps you prepare for the next challenge and so on. But in regards to the more negative side, where you've got people who are overly prideful, and this is also extends to places where people take on very significant national pride, when they're only there as they're not new settlers or anything like that. They're people who take on this disproportionate amount of pride in purely where they come from, where they believe themselves to come from, where they are related, and so on and so forth, when it is purely by luck that they ended up being there in the first place. It's one of the reasons why there are an awful lot of people, myself included, who look at the sense of national pride in America now, where they're complaining about their flag and people kneeling at sports matches and their constitution and all of that kind of crap. And it's like, well, okay, fine, but does it function? If it's not functioning, then fix it. And if you're not fixing it, then you're just complaining about this thing that you have so much pride in for absolutely no reason. Then what's the point in all of this again? It's a very significant thing. It's where people like myself look at the nationalist sentiments that have come out of Brexit as well and things like that, and we're going, why? This pride is misplaced. And so as a result, the ways to deal with people that are like that, I mean, they tend to be verging towards narcissism as well, and maybe at some point I'll do another video on narcissism and narcissistic people. But in regards to kind of those people taking pride, then sometimes they can be reasoned with. Sometimes it takes a while to chip away, but eventually you'll get an apology. Eventually you'll see a slight shift here or there, and it'll mostly be around things that they can't escape. Yeah, it'll be around results. It won't be around effort, because even if they haven't put in 110%, even if they haven't worked themselves as hard as everyone else and all the rest of it, they'll still be overly proud of their own abilities. They will still be overly proud of their place in the entire thing. But when it comes down to them being held accountable, them being held responsible, they may be too proud to step down, to apologise, to try and rework things, to take other people's suggestions on board. Very, very proud of themselves and happy with themselves and overconfident in that area as well. But potentially when they can't shrug that off, they've got two options. They go the arrogant, ignorant route, where they just kind of cloister themselves away from the problem and try not to engage with it. Or they have to back down. They eventually have to get kind of off their pedestal because they've got this big weight pushing them off it. In which case, the one thing that I can suggest in regards to dealing with people like that is patience. And sometimes it's a very very hard thing to do, especially when that particularly overly prideful negative influence is affecting your life in ways that you don't want it to. But there's not necessarily always going to be that much in the way of a recourse. So patience and trying to foster dialogue and understanding is probably a better way of handling that situation than just trying to knock them down a peg. Because then that breeds, because they're so proud of themselves and they're so proud of their achievements, and any failing is probably going to be someone else's fault. Then if you actively knock them down a peg, then you're their next target anyway. You're just painting a big bullseye on your chest. But then we've got the last one, which is the in my mind, whenever I think about this, whenever I talk about this kind of area where people work within, I always see it as a kind of Gollum, Smeagol-esque individual doing stuff and then just waiting to pick up the kind of gold coins of approval and pride from other people to then just make their big sack with pride written on the side bigger. Something that then they can happily go and spend, but it does get expended. Where in the other two, it's this sense that gets possibly eroded or crumpled at times. The pride in your achievements, especially if you're realistic about it, tends to be fairly solid, because once you've done a thing, someone can't take it away from you. There are very few instances where it is possible to start removing things from people like that, but for the most part, if you've done a thing, had an experience, finished a course, whatever, chances are no one's going to be able to take that away from you again afterwards. And so with these people, though, who are kind of straining for other people to be proud of them, looking for that level of approval, then it's kind of a case of they usually lack confidence. They are very much in it for other people and not in it for themselves. And so at times it comes down to, again, understanding and patience, but in this particular instance I'd probably ask more questions around what that person actually wants. Because chances are, if they want people to be proud of them, if they want people to do well, or if they want to do well for people, then sometimes that can be a really positive trait, but for the most part it isn't, because it leaves that person buckling under the pressure of other people. And as a result, the lack of self-esteem there that allows this to happen, that allows this pride currency that they're picking up from other people to fill that void inside them, it's a kind of daft element of the way that people work, where we feel empty for one reason or another and we start trying to fill it in with other stuff. There are probably underlying issues there, but you can always help boost someone else's confidence. A little bit of genuine praise here and there, not just being like out and out proud, but just more about the little things. As part of dialogue and understanding and kind of getting that person to maybe realize that they need to start working more for themselves rather than for other people, to be proud of themselves for what they're doing and not purely run off other people's handouts. Then also, the little things start to matter more. Because they're looking for acknowledgement for the big things, but coming in and making a point of that small job that they do really well every day, commenting that they've done a great job and you really appreciate them doing it just for that little thing, it helps bolster them in it's that pride that they're craving, and it's that kind of positive reinforcement that they get, but it's not from something that they necessarily expect it from. It's almost like weaning someone off hard drugs. It's you do it less and less and less until eventually they go kind of cold turkey because their doses have gotten so small. And so as a result, doing that the same way with just little bits of praise, little bits of complimentary discussion and things like that, constructive criticism, focus on the positive, in a more general sense than purely the big things that are going off for this person that they're focusing on, kind of accruing pride from, farming that pride from other people. So for the most part, I feel that pride in yourself and so on as part of self-confidence generally is a good thing, and taking pride in those people that you have around you, and in regards to your own work and stuff like that, that's also incredibly important and incredibly positive. But it is, as a concept, a kind of double-edged sword. And so making sure that you don't become too prideful, be humble, focus on the things that you actually have evidence for. If I turn around and go, well, actually, I did a really good job of managing the team of however many people doing this job, and I can say that because we earned this much money, or we did this much stuff, or whatever else, that's something that I've got some evidence for. I might not have it as a solid thing in my hands going, look, here are all the photographs, and here are all of the other things, and here's the spreadsheets where all of the results went. But like, at the time, there was a definite result. It was a quantitative result, and I'm able now to just remember that. And so no one can take that away from me directly. No one can, if they actually go trying to take it away from me directly, then chances are they'll find my old employers of one sort or another, and if they go back far enough through the records, if those records still even exist, then they will find that everything was well and good and I was telling the truth, because why wouldn't I? But again, so being humble, taking pride as an important thing, but not something to run out of control, and also not something purely to farm from others. It's something that has to come from inside you, and there are a lot of questions around kind of what you actually want and where you actually want to go if you start looking for other people to be proud of you and praising of you without you really choosing your own direction. But anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think. In my mind, a lot of this stuff is quite transactional. So it's either a case of you have it as a very strong support, or then it becomes transactional where you don't have enough reserve for yourself, and so you have to start trading and kind of pulling it in off other people. And some people have an overabundance, which then starts to give them diminishing returns until it bites them in the arse and their huge pile comes crashing down on them. It's all in my mind, and the way that I look at it when I'm dealing with people. It's a big kind of economic system almost, and as a result, that's the way that I kind of try and put it across. But how do you guys manage it? How do you guys try to maintain the things that you're proud of, the things that remind you of why you should be self-confident, of why you're able to do the next thing? Let us know down in the comments. Some people who are in that last group who lack the self-confidence at the moment to kind of really get a good grip on what they should be proud of about themselves and things like that, so that they're looking for other people all the time. Some of your stories, if any of those from those who are proud of their accomplishments and stuff, some of your stories might actually give them some perspective and ideas of maybe where they can start looking for things about themselves to be proud of. So that'd be a really nice thing to see down in the comments if any of you want to volunteer kind of any of your stories and ideas. But otherwise, guys, I hope you found this interesting, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting at all, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.